Well, good morning, everybody. This is the news that we are waking up to for Tuesday, April the 29th, 2025. That's day 1161 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and anybody that was in the live last night heard the sirens start to go, right? And so we saw 100 drones of various types, including 47 decoys, which were disabled with active countermeasures, come into Ukraine. So that's 84 out of 100 taken out, or an 84% interception rate, which is just astonishing. I mean, it's really astonishing, an 84% interception rate. And that's not a great day for the guys. Amazing. Now, last night on the live, Nightshade said Novorossiysk is on fire. And he sure was right. Let's take a look here. So this is from the Telegram channel Novorossiysk Road. And this guy just drives around Novorossiysk taking videos all the time. You can see there's a pretty big fire burning there at the oil depot. However, what's interesting to me about this is if we take a look, he's got another video, and this gets us in close. Now, what's curious is that it doesn't seem like it's the oil tanks that are burning. It seems more like they've hit the logistics hub where trucks and maybe fuel trucks and other soft targets would be located. Look here. I mean, those aren't oil tanks burning, right? I don't think so anyway. Now, so we don't know what happened here. The Ukrainians have not taken responsibility for this strike yet. There was a report of a Neptune launch, but that's unverified by the Ukrainians. And this location is so close, one would wonder why you would waste a Neptune on it. It's just across the Sea of Azov. It's well within range of any number of Ukrainian drone platforms, as well as within range of other missile systems that they have. So it doesn't, I really don't know. We just don't know at this point. But there is clearly a large fire that's still burning in Novorossiysk this morning. Now, so everybody knows that a high-ranking member of the Defense Directorate of the main military directorate operational headquarters, Lieutenant General Masalik, was blown up by an IED in Moscow over the weekend. We didn't know who did it until the Ukrainians took responsibility for it late last night. I may have missed it before the live or early this morning, one or the other. But the Secretary of Ukraine's National Security Committee, Roman Kostenko, confirmed in an interview the elimination of top Russian general near Moscow. Now, dig these comments from Secretary Roman Kostenko. What can I say? I'm pleased. This is the right work by our intelligence services. I believe we must understand that even if we reach a ceasefire soon, the work of intelligence services will only be beginning. What did I say in my video on this? That none of these people are safe ever. And with good reason. He goes on. This will become the primary mission of our intelligence services and the SBU to ensure these people are punished, no matter where they are. They should be afraid even to leave their homes, let alone leave the territory of the Russian Federation, Kostenko added. This man was not merely some bureaucrat sitting in Moscow. He was responsible for the selection of civilian targets to most terrorize the Ukrainian people and cause the most amount of civilian casualties. It seems to me that if there is to be any justice to come out of this war, that the people in Russia responsible for it must be held accountable. And if that means that the world has to squeeze Russia until it collapses and be ready to go in there and seize those nuclear armaments, we better get our shit together. Because right now, the United States, who we would normally turn to for help with this, is worthless to everybody. This is a perfect storm forming. It's very disturbing. Now, on the subject of the ceasefire, our boy Peskov here at the Kremlin says a 30-day ceasefire is currently not possible until all details are settled. Boom. So before they stop murdering Ukrainians, we have to give the Russians everything that they want and reward them for their 3 years of murdering Ukrainians. That's what he's saying here. But of course, these guys are always talking out both sides of their mouth. At the same time, he added that Russia is ready to start negotiations, allegedly, with Ukraine without preconditions, except yesterday Putin said that the precondition to a 30-day ceasefire would be the stoppage of weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Now, Ukraine has agreed to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. It is not Ukraine that is saying no. But this bullshit from these guys wants to turn the narrative around, make Ukraine look obstinate for their failure to capitulate. It's outrageous. According to him, there has been no response from Kyiv so far. This, of course, is nonsense. I will give you Zelensky's response in 1 second. We also heard from J.D. Vance on this topic. There's a good article in the Kyiv Post. The link is right there. If you want to pause the video, grab that link and read the whole article in the Kyiv Post. But essentially, America is doing everything it can to force Ukrainian capitulation to Russia and renormalize trade with Russia, even as Trump destroys international trade from within the United States. The United States does not appreciate its position in the world. We are 4% of the population and 24% of the global economy. You may not feel rich, but that's only because you've never been to Africa. He isn't just upsetting the apple cart. He's shot the horse and is telling us that horse is just as good as beef and we should get used to chewing on it. So Vance said, if this thing goes on for another few years, millions more could be killed. It could risk escalating into a nuclear war. Vance urging a halt. These guys, through their weakness, are increasing the odds of this thing going nuclear in some small way. A year ago, I would have said it wasn't possible. Now I'm not so sure. Because what's happening is, instead of defeating Russia and forcing them to face that defeat, we're now building up this complex that they're going to win. The propagandists on Russian TV are over the moon with these statements coming from Vance and Trump and Vitkov. So, right, they're popping champagne corks in the Kremlin. They think the end is in sight, and it is the inevitable Russian victory that it always was meant to be. I do not believe that that is going to be the case. Ukraine has already demonstrated that it will not capitulate to U.S. or Russian demands. It will not capitulate. It will not sell out the future of its children to Donald Trump and his minerals deal. It will not saddle this country with $100 billion in debt that it didn't accrue. That is not a thing. So these guys are on the wrong side of history, boy. For his part, Zelensky is doing just about everything right that you can do in a situation like this. Me, I'd have fucked it up already. We'd already all be wisps of ozone and ionized particles drifting through the mushroom clouds of what was left if I was in charge. So, to quote Zelensky, Russia, a much better man than me, Russia continues to manipulate the world, trying to deceive the U.S. Now, another attempt at manipulation. For some reason, everyone is supposed to wait until May 8th before ceasing fire, just to provide Putin with silence for his parade. We value human lives, not parades. That's why we believe, and the world believes, that there is no reason to wait until May 8th. The ceasefire should not be for just a few days, only to return to killing afterward. Absolutely right. And there is no May 9th ceasefire agreed to, because there has been no negotiation over it. It has simply been willed by fiat of the dear leader and dictator, the czar from whom all blessings flow, that it should be such. Well, fuck him, fuck that. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. The Ukrainians get a say. The Ukrainians, as I've seen it from here in Kyiv, have been very careful to toe the line in this war, to make sure that civilian casualties were avoided wherever possible, to not hit civilian infrastructure and targets inside of Russia, to feed, house, and clothe in alignment with the Geneva Convention the prisoners of war taken on the battlefield, which is certainly not something that the Ukrainians can count on when they're taken, etc., right? They've even gone so far as to restrain themselves from hitting export pipeline infrastructure so that Russia can keep exporting oil, so that the world oil price didn't get jacked up and drive the world into a global recession. Well, Trump's taking care of that. Global recession is on its way. It's unavoidable at this point. The dominoes are falling. The price of oil is plunging. There's no reason anymore for the Ukrainians not to hit the oil export infrastructure. They still aren't, really, but we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. I certainly think it's time. And then the other thing is, they've been very, very cautious about anything that could make them look bad in the world, right? Hitting a parade where you might hit civilians is not a good look, I confess. And if the Ukrainians don't want to do it, I think we should all support them in that. They're the better people for it, right? But I'll tell you something, and I can't even believe I'm saying these words. Bobby has convinced me once again. I think they should hit the parade, or at the very least, Moscow and its environs the day of the parade. They should hit it with everything they can, show the world, show every honored guest and dignitary that Russia cannot protect even its most vital airspace at this critical inflection point in history, that they are weak, that they are done. And if they weren't willing to just willy-nilly sacrifice the lives of the next generation of Russians, this thing would already be over. If they hadn't had to depend on North Korean artillery, this thing would already be over. The Ukrainians have been patient long enough. The betrayal of the United States should be enough to say it's time to take the gloves off. This is an existential question of survival. The world is about to be plunged into an economic catastrophe, a man-made economic catastrophe, influenced completely, solely, and for whom all responsibility for it lies, by Donald Trump. The world goes into recession. Where's the money going to come from to keep Ukraine going? No, this country will suffer more than it has already. And that is not fair. if anybody can do it right, the May 9th parade in Moscow could mark a significant turning point for this war. If they handle it right, they could undermine Putin's support at home. And that's fundamentally what has to happen. And the Russian people's belief that this war is a good idea. My 2 cents on that. Now, Australia is reportedly holding back on their promised Abrams tanks because the U.S. has refused to greenlight the export, says ABC News, as reprinted in the Kyiv Post. We are starting to doubt if the Ukrainians actually want these vehicles. The tank roof is the weakest point, and this is a drone war, said an unnamed Defense Department spokesperson. It's unbelievable that we're, like, not only are we cutting off supplies to Ukraine, we're telling our allies not to supply them. It's obscene. And Australia should tell us to go fuck itself and send the tanks anyway. Ukrainian forces are repelling massive waves, reportedly. Now, this is apparently happening right now. This is footage from the FPV drones of the attackers. So there you can see a modified Buhanka van with cope cage. That looks like, I can't tell. It's hard to tell. That did look like a piece of actual armor, though. Again, that looks like, no, that's a civilian vehicle with a cope cage. So anyway, Ukrainian forces are repelling massive waves of Russian assaults near the village of Navdivka in the Donetsk region using FPV drones, reports the Invaders Must Die Telegram channel, and posted this video as reportedly coming from the field this morning. Look at, you can see the shadow of the damn drone. Oh my God. All right. I think that's enough of that. But that gives you the idea. Anyway. I'm not going to play the whole thing. If anybody really wants the video, send me an email. I'll email it to you. Okay, I'm Peter Alexievich everywhere. I'm Peter Alexievich on TikTok and PayPal. I will see everybody in the live tonight. Thanks, guys.